When you're having troubles in your relationship life, it can be absolutely overwhelming, leading to all sorts of frustration and disconnection. And before you know it, you are distanced from one another and you feel like this is not working. We're never going to recover from this. There's no way that I'm going to stay with this person if this is what we're dealing with. Have you ever looked for the exit out of a relationship? Have you ever found yourself giving up? Have you ever found yourself saying, it's been 25 years, but I don't know if I can deal with this anymore? Hey, I want to help you with something really, really specific today. There are four things, four things that really can address almost every uh, relationship problem that you experience, that you and I experience. We think that relationships are a huge puzzle, right? A big question, a big cloudy thing. But the truth is, there are very specific solutions to the challenges that we all face in our relationships. And I want to talk to you about the four things that cause almost every problem in a relationship, whether it's marriage or whether you're in a very close relationship with a significant other. This can even spill over into other types of relationships, like at work and among friends. And so I want to help you with that. So if you've ever felt like it was too much, that, man, maybe I got with the wrong person, maybe this is never going to work, I want you to just pump your brakes for just a moment. Because nothing creates more stress in life than relationships. No, literally, nothing is more stressful than relationship stress. And what I want to help you do in this video is I want to help you reduce relationship stress in your life. I want to help you improve your connection and perhaps even increase your productivity in other areas of life. Because when there's relationship stress, y'all know it goes to work with you, it goes to dinner with you, it goes to the park with you, it goes to your children's schools with you. We take it everywhere we go, even to church. Relationship stress is absolutely extraordinary. And I should know because Sherry and I have been through it. Um, we've been through the relationship stress. We both were products of divorced family lines, and we came into our marriage, and it's been 33 years now, but we came into our marriage excited, gung ho. We're going to do this. We know what we're doing. We're not going to let what happened to our families happen to us. And that was our goal. And yet we found it happening to us. We hit points of relationship stress, especially right about year nine. I don't know what it was about year nine, but it was unbelievable. It was like the fecal matter was hitting the oscillating device. And we found ourselves in a great deal of stress and turmoil and pulling away from one another while we were helping other couples. I was the chaplain of the Baltimore Ravens. I was known for my work with couples in the NFL and especially with our team. But I was having problems in my own house and I didn't know how to resolve those issues. And what I want to share with you in this email are the four things that we learned to focus on that have changed everything. And even now, when we go through struggles in our love life and our relationship, we come back to these four things and they help us to get right back on track and to grow and deepen our connection. So, I want to share those with you. I want to encourage you to pay attention to these four things in your relationship because if you do and you zero in on them, you'll get to the root of any problem, any challenge, and you'll be able to move toward resolution, deeper connection, and a much more enjoyable, less stressful, far less stressful relationship life. All right, you ready? You ready for these? Here's the first one. Pay attention to unmet needs. We all have needs. We all have different needs, lots of needs, but we all have one very important need in our lives. And my important need is not your important need, and your important need is not my important need or that of your spouse or your significant other, but we all have important needs. Whenever the most important need in our life goes unmet, unattended to, it creates extraordinary challenges. And I'm talking specifically about needs of an emotional nature, right? When those needs rather go unmet, it becomes very painful because we were really designed by God to have our emotional needs cared for. Yes, there are physical needs, there are financial needs, there are spiritual needs. All of those are important needs. But the need you want to be met most in your most cherished relationship, i.e., marriage, or if you're in a love relationship that you see as very promising, you want to have that emotional need met. And when it goes ignored or minimized or delegitimized, oh my gosh, the pain that it can inflict on you and the anger that it can create between you and your spouse can be absolutely extraordinary. And so you want to not neglect those. So what I want you to do is I want you to think about this. I want you to make a list. I want you to try to put your finger on it. What is my single greatest emotional need? Have you ever thought about that? I want you to spend some time with that because once you get down to it, it's going to make a difference. Maybe that single greatest emotional need is to be seen, to feel heard, to feel understood, to feel treasured, to feel valued, to feel respected. I'm not sure what it is, but you want to try to put your finger on it to feel safe, perhaps physically, emotionally, right? What is your single greatest need? I want you to put your finger on that. That's the number one thing right there, or at least the first thing, right? Unmet needs, unfulfilled expectations. That's number two. We all have expectations. We expected before we got into these relationships something. We expected that a spouse or significant other would deliver on something in some way. And we have expectations long before we come into these relationships. And maybe for a season you felt like those expectations were being met. And at some point maybe they stopped being met. Maybe they've never been met. And maybe your expectations, you know, maybe one person says your expectations are unrealistic. I don't know, but we have them. If you want to understand why there's angst or even resentment toward the person you love, you fell in love with, maybe there are some expectations that have gone unmet between the two of you. Here's a question. Take some time. Don't start with the expectations, start with the frustrations, right? I want you, this is a whole different way of approaching this, by the way. Start with your frustrations, list them. List I can't get this right. It's a tongue twister. List the frustrations, list the resentments, list the things that you're angry about, that you resent, list them. And then you'll be able to see what you were expecting. Oh, I was expecting my spouse to do this in my life. I was expecting life to be this way with us. Be honest about your frustrations and your resentments, and then you'll get clear about your expectations. Why is there this level of disappointment with my relationship? It's because there have been some expectations that have gone unmet, unfulfilled. So, the first thing we tackled is unmet emotional needs and then unfulfilled expectations. Is this helping anybody today? I hope it's helping you. There's more where this came from, I promise you. All right, let's talk about a really, really important third one: wrong assumptions. When we make wrong assumptions in our relationships, oh man, it can wreak havoc on our relationships. And sometimes we make wrong assumptions over long periods of time, or we make the wrong assumption repeatedly. In other words, we start to ascribe motive to the other person as to why something is happening or why they're doing something. And I know you're doing this because you're just a blankety blank, 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 and you always do this because you're trying to do such and such to me. And we assume. And the reason you did it was because. And we start ascribing motive. In other words, we try to tell the person why they're doing what they're doing. Like, I can read inside your brain and inside your heart, and I know exactly why you're doing this. Or here's a subtle way that we go about it: we respond to something a spouse says or does with a silent assumption that they did it because. And they're like, what? What are you talking about? So here's what I want you to do. I want you to underline your assumptions, get clear about your assumptions. What are the assumptions that I make about my spouse? That they're trying to make me miserable, that they don't love me, that they're just selfish, or they do this just to get on my nerves. Maybe you had a disagreement recently and you made an assumption. What was that assumption? I want you to put your finger on that assumption. And then I want you to, here you go. I want you to stop assuming, and I want you to apologize if you were wrong. Like, I made the wrong assumption. I do that all the time, by the way. Well, not as much as I used to, but I still do it sometimes. And I have to say to Sherry, and she'll do the same thing with me: hey, I was making the wrong assumption. I responded because I was assuming, right? So figure out what the assumption is so that you can repair the fracture by apologizing for assuming. Okay, now we're putting on our big person pants, right? Like, we're gonna say I was assuming, I was wrong. Y'all know you got to be real. You got to be real to the game. You got to really want to do some work right now, right? This is just a simple email, but I'm trying to give you something that will make a big difference in your life today. Go back and apologize for making the assumptions. Just say, I'm sorry, I assumed. Will you please forgive me? I'm telling you, it will change the game today. All right, here's the last one. Number four, and that is the violation of a principle of fidelity. Fidelity simply means truthfulness or trust. And when we violate a principle that hurts our trust, we hurt the relationship. Right? Trust is everything in relationships. If I can trust you, I can completely bear myself and my soul to you. If I can't trust you, I'm shutting down. I'm closing down. Is the trust in your relationship draining out? Has it drained out because there's been some violation of a principle? One of those principles is the principle of reciprocity, that you'll be there for me like I'm there for you. And the longer or the more we don't share reciprocity, of support and care for each other, the more trust drains out. Maybe there was infidelity somewhere along the way. And by the way, not all infidelity is sexual. Sometimes it is you made something else number one over your spouse or your significant other, or you made somebody else number one, even children, even parents, even work or hobbies. That is a violation of the fidelity principle. And when that happens, trust drains, but you can rebuild the trust. And I teach my clients how to do that, right? Very, very intentionally with the process. So, what do you do? What can you do? Here's what I want you to do: take a few minutes and write down what's missing. In other words, why did I violate the principle? Because sometimes people violate principles of trust and they don't even know why they did it. Maybe they were looking for something else to fill their soul. I was talking to a gentleman recently where I was teaching, and he says, I kept turning to my mother and putting my mother before my wife. And it was draining out the trust in our relationship. And I realized I kept doing it because I had formed an unhealthy attachment with my mom and did not sever ties, emotional ties, if you will, after I got married. I've worked with people who have committed infidelity. And sometimes that infidelity was not about they're just horrible people, but they were hungry for something else that they had not addressed in their lives. And it wasn't necessarily their spouse's fault. It was something that goes way back into their childhood. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about, is there something in my soul that I have been missing? Like, maybe you have felt unseen, maybe you felt unheard, maybe you felt like your parents didn't give you the care and the attention, the provision, treat you as if you were important. Um, that could that could still be a challenge in your life that has led you to seek that elsewhere. Sometimes that violation of a fidelity principle is like you're in love with work. Like I was a workaholic and it was hurting my marriage. And my wife was like, "How long are you gonna keep working like this? You just keep working, working, working." She was looking for me. Sure, was looking for me, and I was working, working late into the night hours, early in the morning. You know why? Because I had a thing going on inside of me. I needed to feel important, and I was afraid that I would not be able to provide for my family because I grew up poor. And so, what did I learn to do? I learned to work, 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 and I had to change that. So, I hope this is helpful to you today. We talked about unmet needs, especially emotionally. We talked about unfulfilled expectations. We talked about wrong assumptions. And we talked today about violating a fidelity principle. And I hope this is helpful to you. Hey, I want you to stay tuned because tomorrow I'm going to send you another email and I'm going to take you through some principles to help you understand how to really build a very tight bond with each other, right? How do you recover from conflict and build a great bond? That's what we're going to tackle tomorrow. Hey, and I want to tell you, I got something really special for you coming in the next few days. I'm really excited about it. I've been working on this for literally for years, and I want to be able to share it with you. And so just stay tuned. I'll tell you more about it as we go along. Hey, I hope you have a great, great rest of your day. And I look forward to getting another email out to you with a great video tomorrow. All right, I'll see you then. Bye.